The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
And it's time now for Ask the Expert on WCED AM and FM. As always, a pleasure, Jeffrey, to be here with you, Jeffrey Harrison from the Pennsylvania Freedom Fighters. And Jeff's grabbed a hold of the wheel. He's commandeering this ship today, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Well, we're going to try to kick this into gear. I forget what turbocharge it or afterburners, whatever you want to call
That's
it.
right, like the turbos.
We're going to try to cover as much info as we can. This is our last show, and we're going to go from there.
All right, let her rip, my friend.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for WCED, to the staff, Beth, Mel, everybody here. It takes a team, and you guys are doing what nobody else would do. I could probably thousands of miles in any direction. You guys are one of the only ones covering this.
Well, we appreciate you as well too, my friend. So thank you.
Well, I'm going to be busy. I'm just going to be yakking my brains out.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'd like to promote a book called Obama Scare.
Okay.
Obama Scare. I went to the bookstore. I ordered 4 copies. I'm going to send our congressman one, maybe in person again.
Why not?
And this guy who wrote it, his name is Philip Burr from Lafayette Hill, Pennsylvania, lifelong Democrat. At the Democratic convention, he tried to get Obama knocked off the convention. He filed 5 cases in court. He held rallies. So I'm asking you to go buy his book and support him. If you go to his website, ObamaCrimes.com, okay. ObamaCrimes.com, you'll probably get a preview of what's in the book. He doesn't hold anything back. If you really want to get the real deal, and I'm asking you to buy this book, support that guy. And he said that the reason he opposed this is for the Constitution and for the good of the country and not the Democratic Party. Moving right along, if you want to get the affidavit of Sheriff O'Pile, go to Where's Obama's Birth Certificate.com. Where's Obama's Birth Certificate.com to get that affidavit. Now, Mike Volan is a truck driver, and he started that website and this movement a long time ago, purely grassroots. If you want to send him some money, go for it. We could use the money, and I'm not ashamed to ask for it. I spent thousands of mine. I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours to trying to get the truth out. Mike Boland is a truck driver, and if that's a job and a half.
Sure is.
He's come out with a new video that he's promoting, a little 10-minute information video. Okay. And he's just an awesome person. He's a patriot. He didn't want to get involved in this. I didn't want to get involved in this. I found out about this through the Continental Congress of 2009. GiveMeLiberty.org or com or something like that. They did a large, about a 57-page document about where we're wrong in America, and on page 41 to 45 it talks about Obama's credentials, and that's back in 2009. I'd like to say thank you to the Post and email.com. They've covered articles on this. Now, the reason for this show, lack of a better term, is to educate and inform the people. The news hasn't been doing it. The Democratic Party failed to do it. And the funny thing about the Democratic Party is when they nominated Mr. Obama, and I'm going to use the term Mr., okay? Mr. Obama.
Understand why. Yep.
Okay? I am Sergeant Harrison. I didn't lose my rank just because I got out of the Marine Corps, but I am a sergeant in the Marine Corps.
But you were vetted, too.
I was totally vetted, top secret
right.
clearance, 2 police background checks, okay? I'm a janitor, and I have been vetted another way, and Lieutenant Zullo said the janitor that works for the government is more checked out more than the president. Oh, I'm getting sidetracked.
I'm sorry.
I told you about that.
I know.
I warned you.
I know.
I'll
stop.
No. So anyways, several months ago, Lieutenant Zullo from Maricopa County Sheriff Department on the cold case posse, which was volunteers and donation money, for nearly 3 years has been investigating this. Last few months, it went from there to the regular Sheriff Department with their resources.
Okay.
And they are talking any day now, any week now. They're anticipating on giving a news announcement about the birth certificate and about criminal charges.
Wow.
Criminal charges, okay? So this may blow any day now, any week now. Now, it may take longer, just like when I had a house built, okay? It was going to be 3 months. It turned out to be double that. There was all kinds of reasons, but when you do an investigation, you dig up more dirt, you have to investigate it. Maybe there's more charges.
Right.
And I also think there's something else going on. The rats are running.
Yeah.
The rats are fingering each other. Yeah. There's people running for cover. In the media, this is going to happen. You're going to have people turning evidence and squealing like pigs. Wait. Pigs, man. This is about to blow. Okay? So that gives you some background. Sheriff Pyle, in the beginning, wanted to clear the president. He thought there was nothing to it. Shortly after Lieutenant Zullo was designated to, he heads a posse to investigate this. He had trouble. He tried to get 212 people that are computer experts to look into this, and they didn't want to get involved. He got a guy named Reed Haynes. Reed Haynes works for Perkin & Cole, the same law firm that is defending Mr. Obama, but he's a Democrat. He works out of Ohio. He's from Hawaii. He did like a 47-page report on the birth certificate, so he's one of the few experts that have done it. Lieutenant Zullo tried to get the guy, Frank Abigail, who works for the FBI in the movie Catch Me If You Can, based on that. Yeah. They petitioned the federal government to look into Obama's certificate, and they told them through email that he works for the government and they can't investigate it.
Wow.
How do you like me now?
Well, I tell you what, it makes you think about how powerful the government is to cover and their ability to cover things up and not investigate.
Oh,
things.
it goes. Oh, geez. I got more.
Yeah.
Please, let's
Unbelievable.
go. Okay, rum.
Yeah.
Okay. People come up to me and say, well, how did this happen? Well, people are good-natured. They don't want to believe the worst. You don't want to believe something so bizarre and outrageous as this. The president may be a Manchurian candidate. The president has fraudulent credentials. That's so silly. I don't believe that.
They look into that.
Okay. In our show, if you know that I pointed out that there were 3 police officers not too recently that were frauds, that were Mexican citizens. The guy here in Du Bois applied for the job at the Catholic school. He was a fraud. In the paper the other day, there was a guy that was a fraud doing something again. There's still a bunch of frauds floating around, right. And people aren't checked out. And the president wasn't checked out, and there's reasons why he wasn't checked out. The president was not vetted. He wasn't vetted by Congress. He wasn't vetted by the Democratic Party. He wasn't vetted by the Republicans. And here, a little janitor in little rinky-dinky Du Bois, Pennsylvania, I'm vetting the president with other people too.
Right.
Across the board, if you look at who's fighting this and their education level and their integrity, and you're talking Democrats, Republicans, you're talking all kinds of people with high intelligence, they're fighting this and trying to get it out, and we're doing the best we can because the media would not cover it. And the reason the media wouldn't cover it, or according to Lieutenant Zullo, is the reason the media wouldn't do it is because people in the media were threatened for their jobs.
Oh, okay.
Their health was threatened. But last couple of months, Lieutenant Zullo claims that he has signed documentation, statements from people in the media that they were intimidated. Now, I believe through the Democratic Convention, there was a lot of hanky-panky going on at the Democratic Convention, and that's for another topic. But people were threatened. People were hurt, and there was a certificate. When they nominated him, there was signed, notarized votes that weren't counted. So there's a lot to this, and that's what I've found out.
Sure.
Now, Obama wasn't vetted in the Congress because it's not required to.
Okay.
He wasn't vetted in the states. The Secretary of States, you go to the Secretary of the States, your party says this guy's good. They don't have the authority to check you out. It's like you go to McDonald's or something, and the cash there is there, and you order something. Okay, there's no questions about it.
That's right.
So they don't have the authority. So a lot of these cases, there's been a lot of cases that have gone to court. And I'm just a janitor, what I know about the law, but you got what's called jurisdiction and standing. Now, how were you harmed? Okay, and so there's just a lot of loopholes. There's no laws against this. There's no checks and balances in our systems. So this is how it happened.
You would think that would be a natural, that there would be those checks and balances.
Well, junior military people get scrutinized a lot more. Yeah. Okay, why? Why isn't the commander in chief? Oh, I got a surprise for you. You know, in the military, you have a top secret clearance or a clearance, and you have to get that renewed every so often.
Mm-hmm.
I say, people, I would like you to write your congressman and ask that the president be vetted. I ask that we give him a spot top secret clearance.
Right.
He's got his finger on the button, right?
He
The
should
nuclear bomb.
have that clearance,
he
right?
has information of all kinds of stuff he gets privy to, right? So let's do a background check on the president, updated one. You know, that's how they caught this one guy. This one guy in the Air Force.
Okay.
He was a prior sailor.
Mm-hmm.
He enlisted into the Navy or into the Air Force. He was in the Navy, and they did a check on him one time. And I guess how it went through, I don't know. They did a second one on him. He was in the Air Force for 5 years. Prior Navy, didn't declare it. Now, if you don't declare it, they'll kick you out.
Okay.
Okay, they will kick you out if you have something on your record, like
Right.
some kind of police. You can get what's called a waiver. Okay, but they almost kicked me out, and the reason they almost kicked me out is because they said I did not declare a minor traffic citation, which I did.
Right.
Okay, I was sent to the platoon where the guys are not mentally stable, they're physically messed up, or they're getting out for a bad discharge or whatever. I got sent
Right.
to that platoon for a day.
For a traffic violation.
For a minor, I went all the way through basic training. I'm going to put my life on the line for this country, and they were going to kick me out for a minor traffic citation. So that's where I stand on that.
Right.
So how we?
Unbelievable. We're doing good, my friend. We got about 13 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, the congressmen. Okay, the congressmen have a copy of many of them have a copy of the affidavit from Lieutenant Zullo.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Volan and I and a bunch of about 10 other citizens mid-November went down to our congressmen, knocked on doors. We went cold calling. We had some appointments, and we mailed a bunch of these copies. So a lot of the congressmen have the sheriff kit. It's called the affidavit from Lieutenant Zullo. It talks about what's wrong with the birth certificate. And I've written, I've given it to Thompson, I've given it to Toomey, I've given it to Casey. Now, you know, the funny thing is, Glenn Thompson was here at Martin Luther King Day, and I gave him a several-minute presentation. Verbally, he told me he got the kit. He's never gotten back to me. Hey, Glenn Thompson, is President Obama a natural-born citizen? Did you guys vet him? Are you going to vet him now that you have the affidavit? Now, Toomey.
I was reading through this. She gave me some homework yesterday.
Oh, Toomey. I'm putting Toomey on the line in that article. I'm asking, okay? He sent a bunch of misinformation about Obama's credentials. And what did he say there?
Here, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, anyways,
Take a look.
Toomey's talking that according to the news announcement in Hawaii, that Obama's birth certificate
Because it was in the
valid.
newspaper.
Because it was in the newspaper.
Right.
Why don't you take that down to Social Security and try to get your kid a Social Security number?
It's not going to work.
Huh? And he goes into a couple things why he believes it is. So, but anyways, Toomey, I want you to look into why you think he's a natural-born citizen. I want you to do an investigation. I want you to look at that affidavit, and I want to come and give you a presentation. I will give Casey a presentation. I will give Thompson a presentation. I will give Toomey a presentation. I've done it before.
Right. You're not afraid to do it. That's right.
No, I'm not. Okay, I think I've covered that. I'd like to talk about some experts in the past who have stated what's wrong with Obama's birth certificate. There's multiple experts, and I'm going to tell you something. Around the world, they know that he's a fraud. Mm-hmm. Around the world, they know. They have this. Right. Okay? But there's a guy named Dr. Ron Pollan, and he created like a 57-page document on Obama's birth certificate. There's also Israel Science and Technology, the country of Israel Science and Technology, and they say it was fabricated, fake, and it's a forged document. Now, they did a very preliminary report. They did a very preliminary report on that, and this guy's name is Dr. Israel Hanukoglu. I don't know how do you pronounce that.
I don't know either.
Anyways, I believe it or not, I emailed him, and he sent me an email back.
Okay.
He said it's just a very preliminary one, but the state of Israel has that. And if I, a janitor in Du Bois, Pennsylvania, has this, the whole world has this.
Right.
And so anyways, there's a lady named Martha Zebest, and she authored or edited some 100 books on Adobe.
Okay.
And she did a bunch of reports. I have like 20 pages here of hers. I have one that I think is very interesting, a guy named Paul Ivory, and he's a topographical guy with typefacing and typewriters and things like that. And he says that at least 2 documents were used because whoever did this did not understand. They used different typewriters back then. Back in 61, they had the ball. It was only one thing. You couldn't interchange that ball.
Right.
And you have different size typing on that typewriter or birth certificate. And if you, I have what he did is he took the alphabets like number 1, number 2, or A and B, and he compared all the, and he shows you the differences in the type. What he did, he blew it up, he magnified it.
Right, so you can see it.
So he did that, and say, I'm trying to look through here.
I was reading some of the reactions. You gave me a copy.
Yeah,
of
go ahead.
Some of the reactions from some of the representatives, and they all seem to be
all over the board.
You know, it's like
2 and 2 is 4. Why
right.
do they have so many different answers?
It's like mathematically it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Like we said to me yesterday, 2 and 2 equals 5. That's not the way it works.
Okay.
Right?
Now, looking at this birth certificate, if you're looking at it on the internet, okay, you would say, "Oh, that looks legit."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you know what? It's missing a seal. Where's the seal?
Right.
Where is the seal on that birth certificate? Just looking at it, okay. I always say, reveal the seal, close the deal.
There you go.
Reveal the seal, close the deal. Okay. So if you were looking at it, you'd think, "Oh, gee, that's gospel. That's got to be it." But it was put up there to fool you. You know what that document is on the PDF? It's a PDF file. Right. It is a phony PDF file. It was not a hard copy scanned document. Now, the president, what he needs to do, he needs to give us the physical copy. He needs to have somebody, he needs to do a media thing here. He needs to get the physical copy because the lawyer he sent out there has 2 copies of it somewhere.
Okay.
Now, what's on the internet, is it the same thing that lawyer brought? Now, they say that Hawaii State Department verified it. No, they have not. That's
not true.
They've been mute on that. They have not. No, there's a rumor about that, okay? Right. So anyways, it's a PDF file, a phony one. Mm-hmm. There's no seal on it. So if I was in court, I'd say, "Judge, I rest my case."
Right. Done?
No, we're not. No, we're not. So anyways, no state seal. So anyways, the basic things that are wrong with this is that it has 9 layers. It should not have 9 layers.
Okay.
The 9th layer, they inserted safety paper to give the illusion that it's legit. Okay? The register stamp and the date stamp are imported. They came from another source document. You know what's funny about that? They're on different layers too. Like layer 3 and 4 or something. They're on different layers.
Right. They
They were inserted and they could be rotated. They could also be moved around the document. Okay? There's halo effects around the letters. Noise is inconsistent throughout the document. Obama's number is number 10641. I did the math. Now I'm not very good in math.
Right.
I failed algebra twice.
You got it the third time though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but I took accounting at Mercyhurst.
There you go.
So anyways, I believe from, there was like 2 bursts every hour. I forget exactly what it was. But I believe Obama's number should be closer to 10608. I think my number's more accurate than that one.
Because of the sequential numbers of when he was born.
It gets better than that. It's called the Nordic twins. There were 2 twins. And the 2 twins, okay. Obama was born like what was it, the 8th? The Nordic twins were born on the 11th.
Okay.
And their number is 10637, 10638.
Okay.
Do the math.
Yeah.
So anyways, there's excessive typesetting spaces. There's what Obama didn't, or the people didn't realize, is that there are pencil marks on that birth certificate. If you look on there, there's pencil marks on that birth certificate. Lieutenant Zula went out there to interview a nice lady, senior lady in her 90s, like way 90s. Mm-hmm. Her name, Verna Lee. She was a coder. She was a supervisor. And what they did is they had a process on how they put them in stacks, a pile, and they marked them and they stamped them and they verified the information. A lot of information on that initial birth certificate was left blank.
Huh.
Okay? It was left blank, like number 9s. Okay? So number 9, it talks about the race. Well, there's a problem with Obama's father's race. It says African.
Right.
They had a coding book back then, 1961 coding book.
Okay.
Okay, it wasn't black. It wasn't anything, it was Negro.
Right.
Should have been Negro in that block, okay?
Right.
For unemployment, and then another 9, not stated. So there was a lot of information on that original birth certificate that was left blank in the beginning. So it just goes on and on and on.
Well, Jeff, you've done so much research into this and so much work into this. It's great that information's out there. If someone wants more information on it, if someone wants to learn about it, someone wants to help,
call me at 814-375-2490. Call me day and night. I will give you a presentation. I'm going to charge you a cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke or something like that.
That's a pretty good deal.
But Lieutenant Zullo, several months ago, quite a few months ago, asked people to write and send handwritten letters to their congressman. I'm asking you to make phone calls to your congressman because they did a CSR report, congressional research paper, that tried to say that Obama's legit and everything like that, and to give congressmen an answer. Well, the answer is you should know the Constitution, you congressman. How do I know the Constitution and know this and you don't? Right. I'm asking people out there to get involved, to write letters, make phone calls, because that's why they did the CSR report, because people were
asking
questioning
questions.
This.
Sure.
Now, we need to ask questions. This is not dead. This guy, if he's guilty, needs to go to jail, and we need to clean up the country. And everything that he has done, if it is found that he is a fraud, everything he's done, from the health care bill to all this other stuff he's done, will be eradicated, according to constitutional scholars that I've talked to.
Right. And that's the that information's got to get out there, like you said. And I think we all need to be more active in our government and make those phone calls. Well, that's why
we've been
asleep
asleep at the wheel.
Right.
Lieutenant Zullo has done the hard work. Sheriff Opile has stood up against ridicule, the media. But we expect in a matter of days, maybe a few weeks, maybe a little longer. But Lieutenant Zullo says that the information he has is universal shattering. Universal shattering. And he's dotting his I's because of logistic problems, because of legal problems, and all this. It may be taking longer than it will.
Sure.
But you've heard it at this radio station. You don't hear this from Hannity, because Hannity knows about this. And Lieutenant Zullo was scheduled to go on his, and he said, "No, forget about it." Rush Limbaugh calls him Barry a lot, used to call him Barry all the time.
I remember.
Okay, the media knows this. Here in Du Bois, the newspaper has 2 copies of that affidavit. Here in Du Bois, the TV station has 2 copies of this. And they don't want to cover this yet. But if it blows, you're going to see the rats scramble, and you're going to see a lot of finger pointing, and maybe somebody's going to jail. This is a constitutional tsunami, a constitutional crisis. This is just something, you don't believe it, do you? But it's true.
It is true. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. I appreciate it. Always fun to do the show with you. And again, if you want to call Jeff, more information, give us the number one more time.
Okay, 375-2490. Go to Where's Obama's Birth Certificate. If you go to that site, look for Jeff's site. If you go there, you'll see us giving it to our congressman.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Have a great day.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.